Hey guys, welcome back. We have a new challenge today against Mr. Speed Cobra, quite a high-rated player, 2400. And actually, I wanted to try something new. So today, let's try Benko Gambit today. Didn't play this almost never, but who knows? Maybe it's time to experiment. Notice that I don't take this pawn on a6 straight away. I have a certain idea in mind. This is why I'm focusing on development at the moment. So I was threatening to take on e4 on the last move. This is why he played bishop d2, and now I want to take on a6 with my bishop. And now if he takes on a6, I want to take specifically with the queen to make it difficult on him to castle. This is why I was one of the reasons I was waiting with the taking on a6, because I can do it practically always. So sometimes it's good to be flexible with your choices. So I'm going to offer the exchange of queens anyways, because as a rule of thumb, in the Benko Gambit, endgames tend to be good for black. This is why I'm kind of happy to exchange queens and go for the endgame. I will have a pawn down, but a lot of piece activity. I'll have two open files for my rooks. This bishop is very good on this diagonal. So practice has shown that even with the pawn down, black should be quite happy in those type of endgames. It also very much depends on the on how white actually manages to restrain black's activity. Because, for example, in this point, his choice whether to take on a6 is actually, I don't see too much other options for him, so I'm not really sure why he's delaying this. But maybe he wants to play a useful move, because he cannot castle. That's the thing, because then I trade queens and I take the pawn on e4, sorry. So exchange of queens occurs. So the obvious move is knight takes a6, but rook takes a6 also makes some sense, but let's go with this. Castling, I'm not entirely sure actually that he even had to castle, because his king might even been happy in the center of the board, because we are already approaching to the endgame. The queens got exchanged. So now I have two choices, either to develop my rook to b8 with this tempo against the pawn on b2, or the second option is to go knight e4 and aim to infiltrate on those juicy squares that the knight has at his disposal. Let's start with this though. I want to first see how is he going to protect his pawn, because if he plays b3, he will have maybe some issues on the long diagonal, and other moves are passive. So rook one, for example, rook b1 is a very sad move to make. That's not really a happy place for this rook. So I feel pretty much yeah, rook b1. So yeah, now the move knight b4 makes even more sense than before, because it also hits this pawn. So I'm very much happy to make this move. a4, right? Now at some point you would like to make this square available for his knight. So now the obvious move would be knight d3, hitting this pawn. Then he will play b3, and he would try to stabilize his position. So it might make sense to me to play c4 first, and only when he plays and then with the idea to play knight d3 that when he cannot play b3 so easily. The problem is that if I play c4, then he might still go b3. Yeah. So here is my real... This is really challenging because it's an opening I'm not too much familiar with. So for a very experienced Benko player, this kind of choices, whether to play c4 or not, might be kind of easier to take, but for me it's not that obvious. So what other things can I do? So for example, this knight on f6, it's always an interesting question. Is it well placed or not? Because it on one side it makes pressure on the pawn on e4, but it blocks this diagonal. So I think I have an idea. I think I want to keep this knight on f6 at the moment, just to pressurize this pawn, but let me just double the rooks on the b file. I think it makes sense, because at some point he will play b3. I think this is pretty much inevitable. Even if he doesn't play b3, I am really happy to put my rooks on the b file and try to make pressure on the pawn on the b file. So now he has a kind of a tough choice, because if he plays b3 once again, I'll have this rook b8, knight d3, and this pawn on b3 is very difficult to defend. So the natural way for white to neutralize my pressure on the b file would be to play at some point knight b5. But then again, the pawn on e4 is hanging. So the logical thing for him to do, I would say, is to try and protect the pawn on e4, but that's not easy, because if he plays rook e1, there is always knight d3 with tempo. So I think the natural defender of this pawn would be the pawn on f2. So he might want to play f2, f3 at some point, but then again, he needs to move this knight from f3 in order to do this. Maybe knight e1 actually at this point makes some sense, because then he covers those squares, so my knight cannot enter his position so easily, and then he might prepare the move f3. But admittedly, this is quite a clumsy move, knight to e1, not a very natural move. I'm really curious about his next move. To me, it's not obvious what should be white's next move. The choices are either to play b3, but then to suffer some potential pressure on the b file. The problem is that if he doesn't play b3, then the pawn on a4 might be hanging. Yeah, so he plays knight e1. Well, I hope he's not hearing what I'm saying. So next move is f3, and when the pawn on e4 is protected, there will be no more pressure against the pawn on e4, so the knight on f6 will lose all of its relevance, kind of. Now I have a very rich choice, I would say. Candidate moves are everywhere. Rook b8, knight g4 is an idea. I like the move knight g4, trying to maneuver my knight into some better squares. Also a very typical Benko move. Also might make sense to break in the center with e6. because this knight e1 move made his position slightly less, his pieces less centralized. But my favorite move is knight g4. I'll even though, yeah, so the only drawback of the move knight g4 once again is that I take off the pressure from this pawn, and this means that I allow the move b3. Sorry, this means that I allow the knight to move. But then again, the pawn on a4 is still hanging, so whenever he plays knight b5, I have rook takes a4. Very interesting choice there. Not obvious at all. I'm very curious to consult in this kind of position with a kind of expert on the Benko. Probably he would have a good answer. To my questions. All of those options seems good, but none of them at the moment seems like extremely convincing. All of them are good, but to point out one particularly good move is difficult. So I would play knight g4, but then once again b3 followed by knight b5, and I really feel without the pressure on the b file my activity would be kind of less significant. Okay, but I need to have a decision because time, as always, is running short. I'll have to count on my intuition. Let's go e6. Not entirely sure about it, but this way I want to break his center. So I would guess he will take my pawn on e6, because if this pawn is under too much pressure, the move d6 doesn't make a lot of sense, because this pawn will just I believe will be just a target for me to attack. So he will take on e6. I'm going to take back with the f pawn, and then I will have some central majority, so I would like to push d5. It's quite remarkable actually. White is having a pawn up, but black will have the majority in the center, and they will have some active piece play there. Position is very interesting. I'm quite happy about it. Once again, I'm not too sure about its objective evaluation, but I personally feel okay here as black. I think the next moves are going to be very critical to the evaluation of this position. It will all come down to white's ability to restrain my activity. Once again, he's taking his time to think, even though I would say the move d takes c6 is pretty forced. So pretty much forced. You cannot be considering seriously to play d6, right? I mean, then I will play knight e8, and this pawn is extremely difficult to maintain. And this pawn on d6 is not even bothering me all that much. It is not disturbing any of my piece activity. D takes c6 must be played. I'm wondering why it takes him so long. Yeah, okay. Pawn takes pawn finally was was played. My next move as a default will be probably d5. So I expect the move either f3 or b3, trying to kind of maintain the pressure. If he plays f3 though, it has some drawbacks of this diagonal being weakened slightly. So in the long run, I might have some chances to use this diagonal to my advantage. But if he plays b3, the drawback of this move is that it does not protect the pawn on e4. So maybe specifically against the move b3, I will not yet play d5, because then he can get rid of his pawn. Then I will maybe wait one move. So he played b3. Probably that's the best move, because now once again if you play d5, he takes, and then he can play already knight b5, and then he should be happy. So I need to make a useful waiting move. What could be a useful waiting move here? It's not entirely clear. Wondering if I should still play d5, because I don't see a clear way to make a useful move. Rook b8 is a useful move, but it's not entirely safe because the bishop will come to harass it. And the move knight g4 doesn't make that much sense anymore, because he's kind of ready to play this move already. So knight b5 is coming, and when the knight will be on b5, all of my activity on the b file will be stopped. Maybe knight c6. No, but I like the knight on b4, and also it stops him from playing knight e3. That cannot be a good idea. Yeah, let's go d5. And I'm kind of sad playing this without waiting for him to weaken his position with f3. But I couldn't find a more useful move. e5, by the way, I believe is a mistake, because then I can maintain this very firm and solid pawn center. Yeah, so pawn takes. He will play knight b5 right now. Yeah, so practically the only drawback of the move knight b5 is that now I can come to e4, which I will do. So he exchanged my strong knight. I do have some activity left. This is a threat to win the exchange. So I'm expecting a move like maybe rook d1 or knight f3. I don't see too many other ways to deal with this. But on the next move, I want to fight against this knight on b5, which is an extremely strong piece. So I would probably like to play a move like knight c3, with the idea that he will take me on c3, and then I will take back with the pawn, and getting those connected passed pawns. This I think will be great for me, but he is very unlikely to allow it. So yeah, I think knight f3 would be my guess, because rook d1, I will still play knight c3 probably. Then he will take on, and then I would expect him actually not to take on c3, but just to sacrifice the pawn. Okay, and we have knight d3 rather. That's an interesting move because now I can win the exchange with this move, but then he will collect my pawn on b4 and he will have two passed pawns. It's really not clear what's going on. This is probably a good move, but also knight c3 is a good move. Tough choices today. I can also play kind of the simple way, knight d2, and just count on my d pawn, I guess. Let's try knight d2. I'm really not sure anymore, but yeah. And now, technically speaking, I don't even need to capture the rook immediately because the fork is being maintained. But I do want to save this pawn. This is really a pawn which I'm counting on to make some troubles for him at least. Let's push it. Very interesting position. So it's about material equality. I have the exchange, he got one pawn. Yeah, but those knights really are disturbing me. Okay, so this is not really a threat, right? Because the knight is hanging, so I must activate my rooks. So where should I put this rook? I have the c file. No, I cannot put it there. There is 96. It's not even easy to make a move here. Maybe I should move my b rook. It's a tough position to play. I'll try this move. So my next move, I want to try to activate my other rook. King e2. Fine. I'll play rook f8. Now I'm perhaps threatening rook e7. Okay, and this is the move I wanted to see. Now he's weakened his position. I'm not sure if that was a good decision by him. Now I've got this square available. Time is kind of low. The time control, by the way, if I didn't mention it, is 10 plus 5. So I have 5 seconds increment. I believe he a bit rushed with his last move f3. Now I have serious counterplay. So king h2, right? But now I can activate my bishop. 6 seconds. Let's activate the bishop. It's actually not clear whether I should put my bishop or my rook there, but at least this way I can make sure that his king will stay out of the way, at least for the time being. The reason I didn't play this move right away because it also makes sense to put the rook there in order to make some pressure against these pawns. Yeah, probably should have played the rook to e3. I can still play it on the next move. What about this time today? Okay, check. Now let's go around. So I want to try and infiltrate with my rook on the second rank. It's not clear if the second rank actually gives me anything, but at least it looks active. Rook d5, right? Okay, I think I can make a perpetual check now. Let me gain some time first of all. Okay, I'm very low on time. He offers a draw. Okay, I will accept the draw just because I'll probably accept the draw because my time is so low. Maybe rook c5, nah. Took the draw under the pressure. I think my last chance to play for a win is rook c5. Let's check it out. Yeah, the engine actually agrees with me. It says it's a dead draw. After king h3, I should take the draw. I thought the only chance for me to play for win is this, trying to checkmate him. But yeah, he can just play h3 and hide and shelter his king on h2. The position is still playable, by the way, but 5 seconds is a bit kind of too much for me to play. Yeah, so I feel like it was a very good game, very high, like a good level. I'm not sure if me or my opponent made any significant mistakes in this game, but let's see what the engine says. So he's by the way, for those of you who are not familiar, Lichess, I think also other chess sites, this really cool button who says what it called, like a computer analysis button, where it shows you actually how many mistakes you made on the entire game, and even more specifically, it tells you the average centipawn loss, which means like how much centipawns you lost in each move on average, which is a pretty cool thing. Yeah, so I think in my belief there was I mean the game was pretty much balanced throughout it. Maybe he had some advantage, I had some little advantage on some points in the game, but even as you can see, the engine evaluations, the highest evaluation of the engine is 0.5, which he had. And well, I'm not sure if the computer finished, but it says that I had 0 inaccuracies, 0 mistakes, 0 blunders. I guess it's a good thing. I'm really wondering about this point. If you remember, this was a critical point in this game where I was debating with myself. I decided to play e6, which is a fine move, as the engine said, but he also suggested interesting move, knight e8. I did think about this move, but I just didn't see the point of it, because now there is no pressure against e4, so he can play b3. But the knight on d6 covers the b5 square. Yeah, this is something I didn't realize. That's a very good move by the engine. Knight d6, now he cannot play knight b5, and the engine actually says -1 here, which is brilliant, because without this knight b5 move, he cannot stabilize his position. I believe this was the kind of critical part in the game from my perspective, where I could gain some initiative. Other than this, it seems like the whole game was pretty much balanced. Yeah, so very interesting game there. Hope you enjoyed it. See you in the next videos. Bye, guys.